Hi, I'm Jenny Chandler and I'm a cookery writer, a cook. And today I'm going to teach you how to make a really simple chickpea, chilli and mint soup. Hardly any ingredients, really quick to make, and it's all just going to happen in one pan. So that's quite good, not too much washing up. You want to kick off with some onions. Well, we're just going to make a portion for 2 people today, so I'm literally just using 1 onion. So we're going to dice up the onion, just throw away the stalk at the top there, and then take off the skin. That can all go in the compost. And it wouldn't matter if this was a red onion, it wouldn't even matter if it was a bunch of spring onions. You just want some fairly finely diced onion. It doesn't have to be too delicate. So I'm just chopping up the onion. So I'm doing some vertical cuts, and then I'm just going to cut across those. And this is a soup that I show all sorts of students, kids, older people how to make, because it's one of the simplest dishes that I know, and I think it really delivers on flavour. Really delicious. In your pan, you want about 2 tablespoons of, hopefully, preferably olive oil, but it could be sunflower oil or rapeseed oil, basically a vegetable oil. And I'm just going to put on my gas, and I'm just going to start just frying off that onion over a medium heat. It can get a little bit of colour on it. I just don't want it to get dark brown and taste bitter. The onion is now just going to start cooking in that pan, and I'm going to get some garlic, and I really think this soup needs the garlic. So we're going to just have a couple of cloves of garlic for 2 people, so 1 clove per person. And garlic is very good for you. It's great for boosting your immunity, and I just think it adds just such a brilliant depth of flavour. But you do want to chop it quite finely, because you don't want to suddenly find a piece of garlic in your teeth if you're not going to blend this soup. And that's the great thing about this soup recipe. You can have it sort of smooth and creamy and blended, or you can eat it with the whole chickpeas in it. It's versatile, so if you don't have a blender, it really doesn't matter at all. So my onions are just frying away there, fairly gently, and I'm getting this garlic nicely chopped up. You could use some of that garlic from a tube or a jar, that lazy garlic, but I much prefer to use garlic cloves if I can get hold of them. And garlic keeps really well, so that's just 2 cloves from the bulb. Now I don't want to put the garlic in too early, otherwise I could burn it, and it tastes really quite bitter. So just waiting for my onions to soften down. So the garlic's ready. Then the other ingredient that I think plays a really important role in this soup is the chilli. Now, if you've got small kids that you're feeding this to, obviously you can leave the chilli out and maybe just have it on the table for people to add later. But I just love that little bit of heat in there. So it's up to you. You might have a fresh chilli. That's a green chilli, fairly hot. Do check with chillis, because sometimes they can really surprise you and you could get a really hot one. So do just have a tiny taste before you put it in your soup. And so fresh chilli, or you could use just a couple of dried chilies. Now I know these are really hot, so just 2 of these little bird's eye chilies, I think they are, will really make this soup have a nice little bit of bite. So don't go overboard on the chilli. So I've got my chilli chopped up ready. The onion is softening, and I'm getting just a little bit of colour on it. A little bit of colour. I'll just wait for it to get a little bit softer, and then I will add the garlic and the chilli. Now the other ingredients for this soup are the chickpeas. Now I'm sure you've all come across chickpeas before. Really, you know, fairly easy to track down, and the best thing about them is they're pretty economical and they're really, really good for you. They're really nutritious. If you happen to be vegetarian or vegan or just not eating much meat or fish, pulses, so chickpeas, lentils, beans, are all really, really good sources of protein, especially if you eat a little bit of bread or some other kind of grain as well in your diet. So my onions are now just beginning to colour. They're really quite nice and soft, and so I'm going to now add the garlic and the chilli to them. Now this is where you want to start being really quite careful, because the garlic can burn, so just keep an eye on it. Keep stirring just to make sure that it doesn't catch. The idea is once you can really, really smell the garlic, you want to be adding another ingredient so that it doesn't burn. And that's the rule I use when I'm making something like a tomato sauce for pasta or anywhere else that I'm doing this frying off of onion and garlic. And basically so many dishes start off with that, just onion and garlic, and those are the base flavours for your soup. So I'm really kind of sniffing away now to see if I can smell that garlic. I'll wait until I can really, really get that kind of hit, and then I will think about adding my chickpeas. Now when you buy your chickpeas, they will obviously have the sort of gloopy water in there, and so I'm going to strain that off. I don't want that in my soup. So strained the chickpeas. I can now really smell the garlic, so in go the chickpeas. So don't worry about, you know, getting every bit of moisture off them, just get rid of most of the water. And I'm just stirring those around now for a moment or two. Now to this, the liquid in this soup is going to be just literally a stock cube. So if you don't have a measuring jug, you could just literally say to yourself 2 cans, so 2 of the chickpea cans filled with water. So that's what I'm going to do here. Just going to go 1, and 2. And because you're going to be boiling this anyway, you can literally put the stock cube straight into the soup. Now, it's up to you whether you use a chicken stock cube, or if you're having this as a vegetarian soup, you could just use a vegetable stock cube. You might even have some ready-made stock, but you do need some kind of stock flavour. Now what I tend to do is some stock cubes can be quite salty. You can get low salt ones, so do look out for those, especially if you're feeding young kids and you don't want to have too much salt in the dish. But I'll hold a little bit of that back, and then I'll have a little bit of a taste of it in a minute, just to see whether I want any more stock in there. And basically that is pretty much done. I mean, it really is as easy as that. And this is just so incredibly comforting. I just absolutely love this soup. So I'm going to let that just simmer gently, and then I'm going to just get my mint ready. Now mint works really nicely in this soup, and it's about the only herb. I've got a tiny garden, and it's about the only herb that I don't manage to kill. You can also sometimes get the little pots of mint from supermarkets. But if you haven't got any mint, you could use fresh parsley or fresh coriander. And then maybe you haven't got any fresh herbs at all, and you can still make a really delicious soup here by using some ground cumin. So the ground cumin seeds, you know, you might have a jar of cumin in your cupboard, and half a teaspoon of that into the soup instead of the dried herbs would be really delicious too. So I'm just going to get my mint ready, I'm just going to chop it quite finely, but that doesn't want to go into the soup until I'm pretty much ready to serve it. I haven't added any salt to the soup, as you can see, but that's because my stock cube has probably got plenty of salt in it. So I've just chopped up that mint nice and finely. And then the other really delicious ingredient here is lemon juice. Now the lemon juice is going to sort of sharpen it up so that it doesn't taste sort of too kind of flat. And then also the lemon juice is really good for you because it's full of vitamin C. And the vitamin C also helps you to absorb iron from those chickpeas. And we all need some iron in our diet. So this is a really, really great soup for keeping you healthy. So I'm going to just rub, if you get a lemon and it's really hard, if you rub it on the bench and press on it a bit, you sort of loosen it up a bit. And then when it comes to squashing a bit of lemon juice into the soup, it's going to come out much more easily. So this soup just wants to simmer away for about 10 minutes and then we'll come back to it. The soup's been simmering or just bubbling away for about 10 minutes now. And so I just want to check the seasoning. I want to just check whether I want to add a tiny bit more of the stock cube, if it needs a little bit more sort of salty flavour. So no, I'm actually really happy with that. So it was just over half the stock cube for a 2-person portion. And now all I need to do now is add most of my mint, keep a little bit back to sprinkle on the top, and then the juice of half a lemon should be easily enough for 2 people. In fact, I'll hold back a bit on that. I can always add a little bit more, stir that through, and get myself a clean spoon to have a taste. Oh, that's delicious. That's got that really lovely lemony freshness about it. So I could just serve that up as it is, and it's completely up to you. If you like smooth soups, you know, creamy kind of soups, you could just use a handheld blender. I'll show you mine in a moment. I'll show you what I mean. But I actually love to serve it up like this. So it's like a broth with the chickpeas in it. So I'll put a little bit more mint on the top. And then the other thing which is really great is if you've got any bread, and actually if it's stale bread, that's even better. So it could be some bread that's sort of almost ready to be thrown away. Put it in the toaster and then just cut it up into little squares. And just before you serve the soup, you can just sprinkle a few of those little bits of bread on the top. And it just makes it a little bit more filling. And it also makes it really nutritious because you've got the pulse, so you've got the chickpea, and you've got the grain, you've got the wheat in the bread. So if I wanted to make a creamy soup, I would just use one of these handheld blenders if you happen to have one. And I would just whiz up the soup with that until it was nice and smooth. But that's completely up to you. And there's the finished soup. Chickpea, chilli and mint soup with toasty croutons. I really hope that you find this soup a really simple, easy thing to get going on. It's one of my absolute favourites. So thank you very much for watching.